We're here because of this extraordinary building that was constructed in 2003 by Diageo. It's a brewery, with distilling being basically, 2/3 is brewing. Getting hold of a state-of-the-art brewery was an opportunity that was too good to refuse. I'd thought about Ireland quite a long time ago, but it was also driven by Duncan McGilvery at Bruichladdich, who had been there since the late 60s. And I remember him saying to me that the best barley he'd ever seen at that distillery came from Ireland. So come in and have a look around. Come and have a look and see where we've got to. Here on the left is the old Georgian house of the Strangmans. This is now our offices, lovely building. We have on the left in blue the old brewery. I don't know, I find it a little bit spooky. So there's that well, and then 3 springs. And from those springs, the water is pumped to reservoirs. So 2 boilers, gas operated. For us, everything comes from the same. It comes from our own springs. There's another one of the springs here. Flowing. So we've got plenty of water in Waterford. I probably think it's a ghost or something. This is the malt intake. It fills automatically into those silos. We can store roughly 3.5 weeks worth of barley. That's 350 tonnes.
This is our stoner. When we started it up initially, it was going the wrong way. It's barley though that's coming through now, it's not malted yet, so we just wanted to test this whole system by getting in just dried barley from the field, literally. So there is a bit of chop, it's not malt, it's a little bit heavier, and everything is working as it should be. Thank God.
So, I suppose this is the sort of central part of the brewery. Lots of stainless steel. More stainless steel than you can shake a stick at.
In 2003 it was state of the art, but we've actually upgraded as much as possible as we could go, and we're further upgrading now, so we still have the latest technology, so it's a very modern plant.
This here was a pasteurising unit, and pasteurising to me is an anathema if you're making anything decent to drink. So that obviously had to go.
Came in here in 2003 as a kind of maintenance electrician and technician. We learned the hard way because it was such new technology, nobody kind of really knew about it. So it was a good way to come in, and kind of what you did is you grew up with it, I suppose. You learn from something when it actually blows up.
These are very clever valves that sort of talk to each other, particularly when you're not here. They talk to each other. I don't think if you started a brewery or a distillery, you just wouldn't normally go around putting these things in because they're so expensive. It's quite exciting to have all these shiny new toys to play with. This is some of the tons of stainless steel. Being a big multinational company, when they put it together, this 30 million euros, it buys you 1 shed load of stainless steel. Frankly, we just don't need it all. So we've been simplifying everything, taking stuff out. So where I'm standing is where the stills are going to be. These are sort of yeast propagation tanks, so this is something that will be of great interest to us, to be able to propagate our own indigenous yeast.
It's an unusual piece of kit. It's called a hydromill. This actually puts liquor into the column, and we know the shear rate of the product going through is at the most optimal.
It's OTT. It's completely, ridiculously OTT. We've got a sort of Ferrari here, a Formula One distillery, but we're actually trying to slow it down. These are pretty cool too. These are thermoregulated. So we have a glycol refrigeration plant, which allows us to circulate cold glycol around the outside of the fermentation vessels. This means we can control infinitely the fermentation process. Slowing the fermentation down produces purer flavors. Would you go and install, look at it, this complexity of fermentation vessels in a distillery? No. With our two stills, we'll be operating 24 hours a day, every day of the year. So this is a very fancy cleaning system which cleans every pipe, every valve, every tank. So you can carry on operating and cleaning at the same time.
I suppose the whole process being so automated, it speeds up everything, and even from a point of view from breakdown and stuff like that, we can override things as well, so it makes it very convenient.
I don't empathize with this building. I don't love it. I value it because of what it can do for me.
The guys are really involved in the whole ethos that Mark has talked about. They're going to believe in something that maybe it's going to be a legacy here.
See, I wasn't joking when I said we had lots of stainless steel. It's a chance to do things that you just wouldn't be able to do in a distillery. It's not a pretty distillery. You couldn't fall in love with it. It's too industrial, it's too steel. It is brutal, it is efficient, it is expensive. This is state of the art today. It's sort of like a facilitator. It's making something possible. It's sort of an enhancer, it's an enabler. It allows me to make that barley talk.
A red letter day and an exciting day for us in the distillery here. It's something that I suppose we've been looking forward to since the very start of this journey, and it's, I suppose, the heartbeat of the plant. We're not exactly sure where they are, but we know they're here. We may go on a little road trip and find them somewhere. Absolutely brilliant. We got them.
These are our stills. Oh, I'm so excited. They've been all fixed up and ready to go for here for Waterford Distillery. So excited to see them coming in.
It's a great day for us here.
It makes it all complete, it makes it all sort of whole. So now we are a distillery. We've got our barley, we've got our stills, so now we can make whiskey. So yeah, it's the full Monty.
This is where the stills are actually going to come through. Eventually we put a large glass curtain wall here.
These stills we stole from Allied Distillers in 2003. They were commissioned by a still maker called Blair's in the late 60s, 1968, for the Inverleven distillery. It was a distillery that was never really used, and so these stills were very underutilized, which means we can still use them. They've got life still in them. Flying saucer of Waterford. We shipped them out from Inverleven to Brookladdy, and we kept them at Brookladdy, well, for a decade. In fact, we stuck a couple of Wellington boots out the top of it. Next thing I know, here we are in Waterford. Good grief, where are we? I just love the look of them. They're weathered it just gives it more patina, more character. And when we sold Brookladdy, we arranged with Remy Contra to purchase these stills and bring them here.
We took these stills back from Brookladdy and did some alterations on them and just tested all the welds and made sure they were fit for purpose.
So now, having done not a great deal for the last 30 or 40 years, they are going to be flogged until we replace them with a series of new stills. Do you realise what's above your head? It's coming down now. Yeah, there you go. Renegade safe. Renegade safe. Thank you. So that's the spirit safe in there.
Houston, the Eagle has landed.
Copper that side, stainless steel this side.
Work out exactly where they sit, plonk them onto their bases, bolt the legs on, put the heads on, bolt them up and just bolt it all together.
It's now a question of hooking it all up, putting these top parts on top of the stills, hooking in the steam lines and the venting, the spirit safe. And we hope from 2 months' time start firing them up and distilling. That's just a wonderful testament to all these guys here and the enthusiasm that they've shown and the dedication.
I know I was employed for a reason.
Heads up. Within a year of buying this shut down site, you know, we'll have an operating distillery. I think that's just, you know, huge, massive. It's probably the biggest part of the whole project. It's the most visual thing. You know, all this work's been going on, you know, for 9 months. And you don't see a great deal happen. You know, pipes, fantastic welding work, realignment of everything. They're small but terribly important things. Here, all of a sudden, you've got something big and obvious. And of course, it's the heart of the whole thing. You know, without stills, you don't have a distillery. With stills, you do.
I come from a farming background. My father is a suckler and sheep farmer, and I had a huge interest into crops. So that was going against his will, but that's how I ended up here. And it's a lovely job out in the outdoors. So what we find is a nice representative of the field, and we take 5 counts of the ears. Within a 1/10 of a metre square, and then we multiply it by 10 to get a metre squared. Then we multiply that metre squared by 10,000, which is in a hectare, so we can predict the yield then. As we're counting, we keep a close eye on the grains themselves, and we look out for fusarium. This year, grains are looking extremely healthy. There is a worry for fusarium because of the damp conditions, but so far we're seeing very little. So fusarium is linked to mycotoxins. The less fusarium we can have on the grain, the better. And it's all just to do with weather conditions. So you can see a blind grain there, but that's not fusarium. While we're counting the grains, we can assess their quality. Then we can count the grains on each ears and get an average of the amount of grains per ear. It's very important so that we can predict the yield and know when we're intaking the barley that we're expecting, so we can organise our intake bays. We definitely do it for all our Waterford Distillery growers, and we do it once just before the harvest. So as an agronomist, I take a lot of pride in this crop as I pass it every day on my way to work. Seeing it from emerging stage to being a full crop like this here today. Me and David discussed what variety we were going to put into each field. After that, we decided we would go with Olympus for his Waterford Distillery crop. So we multiplied the 1,000 grain weight, and I recommended to David to sow this crop at around 11.5 to 12 stone an acre. So it was up to David then to calibrate his drill to that recommendation. Fingers crossed that he'd follow my word. Gonna be on Broadway. I done this earlier on and I was getting a count of 1,300 ears per metre squared. That is relatively good. Teagasc, our national authority for agriculture and food, advised that you should have around 1,100. So David Walsh Chemist is well above target in his terra field.
Be funny if that started something, wouldn't it? Yeah, at the end of the day, this is what the whole thing's about. If it doesn't come through there, we're fucked.
You know, everything can be sampled.
Sampled.
And it was
which is
so you know
in and out.
Lisa, what sort of properties do you think this location will bring to your spirit?
That'll do.
Oh, that's enough.
I think this is finito.
I think it'll bring a kind of a marine influence to it, obviously, because it's right beside the sea.
What gives you that idea?
When there is the post time, approaching the gate. They're at the post. Now they're moving into the gate.
A grand castle's garden when it reaches full bloom. Hanging out with the lads, escape a locked room. The mountains are calling, I love a good hike. The long winding greenway, I get on my bike. Exploring the towns and tasting street food. Going for a kite surf, getting gnarly, dude. Away with the family to glamp somewhere new. Taking a dip, a bath with a view. Visiting the stills, a drink in my hand. Childhood memories being made in the sand. An alfresco dinner overlooking the sea. This is what Waterford means to me. You're invited, come and see.